Hey, welcome everyone. We're in week 4, unit 4, however you want to look at it, but we're past that halfway point and we're on the downhill side. This week is one of my favorite classes, or one of my favorite topics, I guess, of the course. We're talking about compensation. I like money, I'm sure you do too. Most of your employees will like money as well. Now, for those of you who are currently active duty, sometimes that's a little bit more of a challenge because Congress, who I think is very far removed from what the military truly wants and needs, is who holds the purse strings, so to speak. And that can happen in a corporate job setting as well. For example, I interviewed with a position in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was actually 2 hospitals south of Dallas, very nice area. But I pulled the comp data from a reputable source and found that it was over 140,000 was the 50th percentile, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the week. They came back and wanted to offer me the job at a little over 90,000. So we went from where 140,000 should be midpoint or 50th percentile for a typical HR director position. They wanted to offer me a little 90 or right around there. Needless to say, I was kind of like, hold on, time out. We're not, you're not, at this point, you're not even quite to the 25th percentile in what we're looking for. And they were not interested in negotiating. Well, let me rephrase that. I think the recruiter was interested in negotiating. However, it was part of a large corporate health system, and their corporate office set the pay structure, and they said, sorry, there's no negotiation. So needless to say, I turned the position down because I didn't want to try and live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on pennies of what I should be making. So sometimes even in the civilian world, we're limited in our ability to affect compensation and accurate compensation change. Now, I've worked at other organizations where I go to the CFO and say, this position is $2 or $3 short of where it should be, and it's impacting our ability to recruit and retain folks. And we made adjustments, boom, right then. So it depends on the organization and a number of other factors. But we're talking about compensation. And you can see the learning objectives. Obviously, I'm not going to read those to you in depth, but as well as you can see the assigned reading and preparation activities. Now, this week is kind of interesting because, as you can see, let me say, I believe it's in the written assignment. Discussion 1, there's incentive programs related to compensation. So these could be company car, cell phone stipend, could be bonuses related to performance. Typically, you'll see that with sales positions or similar type positions in which there's a bonus. Could be that you get a bonus for saving money as well. So there's a number of different things that sometimes are related to compensation as a total rewards package. Number 2, we're talking about the other perks. I just went to a training, and the company had what they call an employee experience officer, and his role was to help organizations partner with their benefit broker to find things. And he had a number of different companies now that do different things. So I haven't got the PowerPoint from them yet, but when I do, I hope to be able to share some of those things as it relates to the second discussion. However, it's our written assignment. We're looking at employment classifications. Hot button topic in terms of independent contractor versus employee. The Department of Labor just released some new rules. They're kind of in flux and will be before they finally settle. But, excuse me, this is an ongoing area that continues to evolve and be really challenging for some employers, because what they try and do is they'll bring somebody in and say, you're not an employee, therefore we don't have to offer benefits, we don't have to offer overtime pay, we don't have to offer a lot of the same tax requirements because you don't work for the company as an employee. We're bringing you in as an independent contractor. Most recently, if you considered like Lyft and Uber, there's been a lot of pushback to say, well, they're not really independent contractors in some respects. They are employees. That one's still kind of up in the air. I don't know. I think it's settled in some areas, but it's not what I would call universal. However, FedEx drivers, and I didn't know this for a long time, were actually considered independent contractors by FedEx, the guy that drives the FedEx truck around and delivers packages to your house. For a long time, they had to purchase the truck, purchase the uniforms, conform to all the rules of FedEx, but they were considered independent contractors. So they were outside the benefits, the tax incentives, all that stuff. That did go to court, and the court ruled that those folks are actually employees. So as you work through this week, really focus on that difference between the employee and the independent contractor. We also talked about exempt and non-exempt, so I'm going to go over that really quick. Non-exempt employees are eligible for overtime wages, anything over 40 hours a week typically. Sometimes organizations will base that on 8 hours a day versus a weekly rate. But generally, anything over 40 hours in a week, non-exempt employees get overtime. Exempt employees are those folks that are salaried. They do not get overtime. Now, there is a small classification in which you can be salaried and get overtime. Very, very rare, because the concept is you have work that it meets specific requirements that allows you to be exempt. Organizations and employers cannot just randomly say, Joe, you're exempt because we don't want to pay you overtime. There's a number of exemption categories, such as executive, C-suite individuals, those folks that have administrative duties that are significant to the organization, such as hiring and firing, purchasing over a certain amount, not going to the tool store and buying a bottle of lubricating oil. We're talking about you're buying major things for the organization. So your accounting folks, and things like that. The professional, which is doctors, nurses, teachers, which interestingly enough, most nurses are still considered hourly. I don't know why, but they are considered professional, so they could be considered exempt. Then there's some other learned professionals and things like that come into play as well. So before you can just randomly say somebody's exempt, you have to look and see what classification they fit into in terms of being eligible for exempt status. So that's kind of this week. We're going to talk a little bit more about compensation and things as it relates there. But hopefully everybody has a great week, and I will see you in the discussion and other places. Thanks.